say probably most people haven't put their sprints issues together. This is the sprint that we're in, January 23rd to February 5th. It's called Hire Away because I am subconsciously or subliminally trying to send my own message across, but we can also consider calling it something else. I'm going to just set a timer for 5 minutes and play some music, unless people tell me that they don't need time. Are we ready to get started, or do people want 5 minutes?
I'm ready.
Bear, Gideon?
Yeah, I think I'm ready too.
All right. All right, let's just jump right into it. Even better. Okay, so I'm going to go into tasks, and maybe Bear, would you mind getting us started?
Yeah, sure. Let me see. Okay, so so you're by project. Okay. Yeah, so on the first project, the fiduciary stewardship, I think that now that we've kind of like made that decision on the strategy, this kind of like opens up the possibility to continue working on the budget for the TEC as a whole. I'll continue working on that, although I've already been working on that this last sprint. But I already said that in progress. Everything else, I think, will probably continue on pause, as it's not probably our main priorities. That includes the accountability, the policies, and the forum post for that. So that will continue like that. Then in terms of internal operations, let me just make it bigger. We have in progress the roles that will continue also as part of the recruiting process. So finalizing these role descriptions. I mean, most of them are already done, are completed, and are always accessible in Notion if people are curious and want to take a look at. But there are still some other roles that need better definement or creation, like this idea of the ecosystem lead. So I'll continue working on that, working on tuning also the marketing lead. That's another one that's kind of like pending. Then I'm still going through the process with Enti on his transition. It's going well. It's going pretty good. I think he's being able to start letting go of different things, but there are still a couple of things to take care of. But it's going well. The recruitment process, I mean, we already talked about that. That's gonna like get continued this sprint. And then we have the funding proposal. And the impact tracker. Those are really good topics that I probably not going to work this sprint, but I will start planning for them. You know, there's some timelines that we need to meet in order to have enough funds for that. And this all ties together with the recruiting process, with the budgets, with the strategy. So it's kind of like a whole package. So I have that really present, but probably still in the backlog. The financial year report for the coordination team, this kind of like a report, transparency report in a way, for the team that I'll continue working on this sprint. The initial numbers are already set. It was just kind of like collecting them and just putting them on a doc, where I still would like to add some more context and some more information to it. And the end product of that will be just a forum post. Hopefully that I can get that completed this sprint. Yes, I think I can. The review thing work on 2024 strategy, well, that's ongoing. I think at least for this coming week, well, we finish that process that Griff initiated. And then there are these two smaller items in regards with CoinGecko and Velodrome. I'm still following up with them, trying to get that completed. Waiting on a response from their side. But hopefully that gets also completed this sprint. And then the last thing is the revamp of the TEC's Notion public page. this was something that I was talking about with Nate, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. That we were saying that it might be a good idea to try to, while we, as a temporary measure, while we're able to figure out the best way and just take our time to put together a new website. I think we can use the Notion public page that NT was able to set up before, and just try to update that and include some relevant information on that. I mean, I've already been playing around with it, um, and I think it can serve a purpose, at least for this temporary or for this intermediate time while we figure things out. So I don't know if the link is there, but if people are curious on how that looks, you can take a look, or I'll share. Yeah, there's no link there, so I share it. If not, in the Notion base, if you go to the bottom, you'll see the public section of things. There, and you can copy that link and paste it in your browser, and you should be able that public website. You have the grants portal there, and some other stuff. So might be interesting to look at that, and I'll continue playing around with it because might be useful. And I'm working with that with Nate as well. So there's that, and I think that's it, right? I don't see any. Is there anything else below that? No. Okay. Yeah,
No,
I
there's
think
nothing else.
that's good for me. Thank you, Tom.
Cool. That's super great. And yeah, this is super great. Great. Thanks, Bear. Gideon, are you up for going next?
Absolutely. So mine's pretty straightforward. I think the website that we agreed last time, back burner that will come out of whatever marketing strategy we have this year, but later. I think this incubation program strategy was blocked, but now it's unblocked, and I think I just need to basically start to incorporate some of the feedback that we got. I think the additions are basically reaching out to Mark on this, doing some of the stuff he had around bounties, integrating that, potentially talking to him about that. He's going to provide feedback on it. And then I think also making space, like incorporating the TE audit as a potential idea for some of what's talked about in that document. So just cleaning up that document, shortening it up again, and just making sure that it fully aligns with the strategy. And I would also like to start getting some conversation, maybe one of the Tuesday calls around this. I think it's really important. So that's basically back on. And then same with the marketing strategy doc. That was blocked, but I think that that one's pretty close, but same thing, just needs to be updated and revised based on some of the current things that we're working through in terms of like who we're hiring, how much resource we're going to be throwing at it, what specific resources. So that just it's going to need to be refreshed. And then the only other things these are not me things necessarily, but I don't know how we hold this, but I think we still need to make sure that payments go out for, NT said that we basically, I think now it's like 2 weeks, but I think we just need to make sure that that's being tracked. I don't know where that is, but
that one's here. It's assigned to NT and Sean.
Okay, perfect. And then the only other thing that I would be willing to hold, or maybe we can ask Sean to take it, is the reputation and TQF. I don't know how should we think. Well, we're just going through what we've got right now. We're not adding new stuff, right?
We can add new stuff. We can always add new stuff, even if it's not for the sprint.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how we incorporate some of the conversation we had earlier, right? So, like for example, how do we include a project that's like defining what our goals are for the reputation project, right? And then same thing for like OP ecosystem evangelism organizing. I don't know what we call it. Um,
I mean, I think we could add it as exactly what that as stated, to be quite honest. Like, thinking about, initial thinking about reputation. It's really think work. It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have even something come out of it other than to start to think about it and sketch ideas and reach out to people. But it's cognitive load, right?
yeah, I think it's a cognitive load, thinking it through, and then just writing up some kind of simple, 2-page document or something that's like, hey, here's the plan. Here's what we're going to try to do
Yeah.
for each
Yeah.
of these components. So it's more of a question. It goes back to the thing you were raising. It's like who should drive these things. I'll fold so how about this? I will fold some of those components, basically Mark and Phil, into the incubation doc. That will be how we can incorporate that. The reputation, I hate signing Sean up for things that he's not here, but maybe, but it seems like he might be the logical person for that. Maybe you and I can kind of like join that, or I will. I'm happy to help him with that. So how about this? We'll create should I create a new one here? That's just like reputation, goals, and strategy for 2024. And I'll add Sean and Tim. I don't know if do you want to be included in that or just hold off? We can just consult.
I would say consult.
Okay.
I'm happy to have conversations, soundboard, this kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Gideon. Thank you, Gideon. And I know YGG has left, but it looks like he did, if I'm not mistaken, whoops, Sean. It looks like he updated this before he left, right? Yeah, he did. Cool. Reputation and paid grant outs. Ready to teach TA products Monday, consulting TQ for reputation. Okay. Okay. Okay, no, he didn't. Okay. So I will get this up. Nate, you're up. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues for 5 tasks for this sprint. We have the recurring tasks per month. We have the TEPG number 4, which is going to be the Sunday with Vasily. We have the community call that's going to happen on the 31st of January, the last Wednesday of each month. And then the beam development is something that I've been working on. I put a comprehensive task list up there that I'm going to be working on. I have already set up the application. It's currently at the tecommons.beam.xyz. I want to talk to Jelly Royale. He said he needed to, because we have not had a process for actually approving edits to the website or modifications to the website for tecommons.org. And so he didn't really understand, what the kind of authority was when it came to getting permissions for that. So I talked to him about it. He said a forum post and maybe having some people comment or reach out to him about adding watch.tecommons.org to host this application. But the idea is, that we have the application there, and I'm going to start uploading videos for TEPG and all the TEC owned content from our YouTube to this channel. It will have token gating, so we can start to build some utility around TEC, and hopefully it becomes kind of an aggregate process of building utility for TEC tokens. But yeah, and so
hopefully trying to host a live event as well, maybe having our February community call hosted on Beam as well. Had a good talk with their team, and they they have enough runway and enough funding to last for several years. So if this works out, it works out really well. We can have potential NFT subscriptions and start to generate some type of revenue from collective TE content and distributing that to the broader TE community to incentivize more TE content being built. So it's one of the things that I want to do is seek permission from like the Bonding Curve Research Group, Block Science, TE Academy to see if they would be interested in hosting their videos behind this kind of token gated paywall. But I think it's got a lot of potential to actually bring utility for the TEC token, which is why I kind of initialized this. But yeah, so that's part of that this process for this sprint, as well as the. Yeah.
Sorry, just because it's the first time I'm hearing about it, I don't know if other people have already heard about it, but this is, I'm not exactly sure, but it's basically there's content and people have to hold TEC tokens in order to view the content.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
So you can do a number of different types of access forms. So you can have NFT subscriptions. You can have just a token gating, like you hold X amount of TEC tokens and you get access to all the TE content that's hosted on the hub. It's all stored decentralized, so everything is IPFS stored. So if there's anything that ever happens with Beam or the front end, the content is never lost. It's still there. Just the front end would be gone. So that was the only risk that we would be taking. But the Mihai and the Beam team, I had a long talk with, and they have ample funding to keep moving forward, because we've had Gideon and I discussed about some of the struggles with working with other projects in the past and how lack of funding kind of undercut everything. So but after having a long talk with them, they definitely reassured me that they're in it for the long haul, and they're built on live peer. And so I really do think it's a really interesting opportunity to take advantage of, to actually kind of aggregate all of this TE content that we have around the space and put it in a single place, and start to drive some utility for the TEC token. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have any questions with that, or sorry?
No, I mean, I don't know so much about it. It feels safe enough to try. Right?
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. Is it's very low effort, but potentially large payoff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I felt like it would be really interesting to experiment with, especially when it comes to kind of driving utility for the TEC token.
I think the most important part of this kind of project would be like, what is the content people pay for, and do we have it?
Yeah, and I do
or
think
do we
that
plan to make it?
Yeah. The thing that excites me about this is the potential for other TE firms to actually utilize CAD, having CAD things of that nature, and putting it behind a paywall, and then having it be able to distribute that revenue in the long term back to the people who are creating the TE content. We get token utility out of it. They get an incentive to create more TE content, and you get to distribute that revenue to the people who are actually building valuable content for token engineers.
It only works if there is demand.
Yep, for sure.
And I feel like that's the big question mark. Is there going to be demand for this content, considering this content is free, available online? And I don't know what content we would put on Beam that we wouldn't put on YouTube, for example.
For sure.
So I just like, I'm sure maybe you've already thought about that, and maybe even new content, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just an aggregation of content. I think that, you can search for certain things, but a lot of people might have a hard time finding, tutorials for CAD, or people who are willing to show exactly how to do a token model, or if the TE Academy wants to do actually a live course, they could actually host it on the token engineering content hub as a live stream and token gated, or have it pay per view type of thing. I only did this because I do think there's a lot of potential in it, and we don't know the demand, and so that's something that I would like to see. And so, it's one of those experiments with token utility.
Yeah, it's something interesting. Plus, I have negative sentiments personally about YouTube, but yeah, there's a pricing model.
There is not. It's all free. They take 15% for anything like that's called pay-per-view, which means if you host something that you want people to watch, mainly large events, the most of the revenue that they get are from things like video conferences or like conferences that they host, or film festivals that are online. And so they make the majority of their money from that. And so it's very Netflix style application. The application's free, the uploads are free, the storage is they're paying for the storage upfront, which is great. So everything is zero cost and very little effort on our end. And so that's the only reason I delved into this.
And you're going to be uploading like content here.
Yeah, and so you'll have like what they're called stripes. And so the idea is that you'll have like maybe live events, it's kind of like, those Netflix categories where it's just like tutorials, entertainment, TE courses, whatever stripes you want to create. You can create an unlimited amount of stripes. And I think up to 32 videos per stripe. And it's all IPFS uploaded.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
All right. Good
yeah.
luck.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm interested to see if this actually gets, people interested, or if we can aggregate some of these this content that's out there, because there is a lot of TE content that is very spread out everywhere. So yeah.
I mean, I think the most valuable thing here is curating the content.
Yeah.
And making it something that I'm not so sure paying for content is the right model for token engineering commons. There's something interesting about holding tokens, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to start off with just holding tokens. So just token gated. If you hold X amount of tokens, then you get access to the full TE content library. And if it does become popular, then we can look into having some type of revenue model, and to see if it provides utility for token engineers or the token engineering firms that are using it. So in theory, if Angela wanted to actually host a live course, she could actually use the TE Content Hub and have a charge for that course just using this platform, and they can generate revenue from like an event-based model. So it's something to think about. It's just decentralized tooling that I think may have potential to provide utility for both token engineers and the firms that facilitate token engineering activities.
Can I throw in one thought? As we roll out the strategy, the events is a part of that. That's like part of the marketing. How do we expand TEC's reputation as this bridge between token engineering and the public goods funders? And so one thing I was thinking is, one, it would be great for if you could own that piece of it, like that would make total sense, right? And I'm just thinking, from a organizational perspective, like, if this media platform, if Beam is kind of owned by the commons, then, and there are these different, what are they called? Stripes? Are they channels? I don't know what you call them, but, we basically make it available to anybody who, wants to run that, but that includes the TEC as well, right? So the TEC has its own channel that is really focused on supporting the strategy. And that's the kind of the primary focus of the stuff that we've got going. And those are the people that those are the viewers that we want to recruit, that we want to attract. but that you're also making it available to all these other people. So like Angela and stuff, if they want to be trying to attract students or whatever, that's also open. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So part of it is that they do have one of the token, like the access requirements is that they do have vouchers. So we can provide an unlimited amount of vouchers for if TE Academy wants to share their content, we can give them free vouchers to hand out to students to actually access the hub without having to hold TEC tokens. And so that's kind of a part of a process of like bootstrapping viewership and people who want to just kind of check it out and see what kind of content it is.
Yeah. The thing that I'm emphasizing, so that all makes sense. And I think there's like some economic, just like some modeling of like, when do we enforce TC ownership or holding or whatever. But my main point is, do you think it's appropriate and, for us to basically have the TEC channel as one of the channels and have it have its own like programming that is really in support of the strategy?
Yes, so the TEC can have their own channel. The great thing about this is that if TE Academy or any of the TE firms want to like have their own isolated content Beam application, they can, and then share it whatever they'd like to with the TEC channel in particular. That way you kind of have this kind of segregated management of content. So if they wanted to start their own Beam application, they decide that they like it and they want to host things on it, they can curate it for their students. And then whatever they decide that they want to share with the larger token engineering content hub, where we may have multiple firms who want to decide to do that. That's also a possibility. And so we can curate what we have in the content hub, as well as like having isolated versions of the application for Token Engineering Academy, CAD, block science, whatever, so I think that's another avenue to explore. But yeah, like Tam said, like I really just want to see what the demand is for some of this content and see if it actually drives utility.
Yeah, I guess the question I'm asking is, will BCRG have its own brand, and so that you can like tune into those events, and can the TC have its own, and can the Academy have its own, even though it's all part of the same?
Yeah, absolutely. So each stream and each video and each upload can have their own section and also their own form of access. So you can dictate, whatever access per video per event. So if BCRG wanted to say, hey, I want to give out vouchers for this video or for this event, then we can do it that way. Yeah, so there's like a lot of modularity in the way you manage the access rights for each of the uploads that you have. Sorry, I hope that answered your question. Are you meaning like their own particular brand? Or?
Yeah, that answered it. Thank you.
They sound super interesting. Nate, I'd love to see some of these ideas fleshed out more and some more planning for what to do next. But it seems like it could be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to take this just kind of bit by bit. I'm not going to put too much of my capacity into, making it forcing this upon other organizations or things. I just want to make sure that we try to get the TE content that we do own up on here and see if people are interested in the interface for it and will actually utilize it. Perhaps even test out the live events and see if people like that format, and then just go from there. But yeah, I think that, taking this step by step and just kind of seeing what kind of potential it offers, because I do think like the biggest motivations for this is to both aggregate content, provide token utility, and provide utility to token engineers who are looking for valuable videos and educational and informational content that exists out there that may not be even recorded yet or may not even be uploaded. So.
And that's why that's kind of what I'm saying is sort of like, what is the big picture for this? I see that we have sort of like the detail of how you're going to get Beam up, but then what is the big picture for it? In one page,
For sure. I can provide that.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of had that in this discussion. But for other people, especially like maybe a post on the forum, it could be very interesting to give a one pager about the Beam and its intention so that the rest of the community is aware of it. But not something that's very dense and, just something that's very easy to understand in terms of directionally. I mean, like not directionally, in terms of like what the bigger picture is.
Yeah, I
I'm
did
assuming
post
once it's
a
up,
small thing
yeah.
on the forum
Oh, cool.
a few days back, and yeah, so I don't know if that's sufficient enough or not, but I just wanted to get it up there because of the
Yes.
Jelly Royale wanted kind of some type of confirmation that this is a real thing, and that it would be worth doing. So
cool. All right. Unless there's any more questions, we'll keep moving forward.
for sure.
Okay, cool. It's still you. So these two, the Beam, the community call, and I think we haven't gone past that, right?
Yeah, and so the big one for
This
me
is
for
paused.
this
This is in
sprint
progress.
is
Mhm.
the ecosystem content. One of the part of the events that we're going to have is trying to one of the efforts I wanted to get Beam started as well as kind of an incentive for people like Token Gnomes, Octopus, Nick, Nate to actually share their host one of their spaces on our TEC Twitter page. That way we have kind of a growing list of content happening on TEC Twitter. And so for them to host, one of their episodes a month that they have on TEC, and to kind of aggregate some more token engineering content for the token engineering community, as well as kind of help them with the promotion of their groups, in particular Tokenomics DAO and or Tokenomics and Factory DAO, as well as Octopus's group, the Token Gnomes. So that's one of the big initiatives that I want to incorporate for the month of February.
Hey Nate, what do you think about having this for next Tuesday, like what the other topic that we cover? Because one of the things that so I have two comments. One is I think that we're going to be, if you look at the strategy that we're moving to, it's basically two communities that we're trying to knit together. One is the token engineering community, and the other is public goods community, right? And so figuring out how. So one thing is we clearly need like some type of like plan for TEC events, specifically like for how we're going to position ourselves within the OP community and build those connections. So that's one thing. And then how does that tie in with the other part that you've been focused on, which is building the bridge with the TE community? So that would be, I mean, I think of the things that would be really important to try to tackle over the next couple of weeks is some thinking about that. Like, how does this integrate into the strategy and into the priorities for this year? And maybe taking some time next Tuesday to, if you want advice process or feedback on that.
I think that's a really good point, especially if we're going to focus on the OP aspect of it, is understanding who an OP is, worth talking to, and people who already represent the OP community pretty well. I'm not really familiar with any type of like OP events or spaces that they have currently. I know that they might have a podcast, but I'm not sure about that. But it would be really interesting to see if they would be interested in doing some type of collaboration with the TEC in terms of promoting public goods, or having some type of series centered around public goods and really focusing on the OP, like public goods impact. It might be another good route of just saying, hey, you've done these retro PGF things, really highlighting some of the projects in OP that have actually made a huge impact and have gotten rewarded, and kind of maybe highlighting that. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is something to brainstorm on. But yeah, now that we have picked a strategy, we kind of solved that problem of like who and what we're trying to create narratives for. So I think that's really important, but I'm not sure exactly how to go about doing that. So yeah, maybe I can put a schedule together and have a meeting for that. Like, is there something that I actually get started in terms of figuring that out?
I was just gonna say we could use next Tuesday's call, like second half of it, or also like our Monday's call, like comms call and events call. That might also be a good place and time to dive deeper into this.
Yeah, I like that idea too, especially because we're out of time on this call. I like that idea too, and I like the idea, and I can certainly help on how we can engage with people, like who we should engage with in optimism. Um, I'd love to be part of that conversation and help make those connections too, actually. And also even just like talking about strategically which are the groups in optimism and what are the questions for those people, because there's so many different, like retro PGF is one group, of course, that makes the most sense for us to talk to, but what OP Foundation is doing in terms of their bicameral governance system is also quite interesting. And from the governance side of token engineering, that's actually would make a very good interview as well. That is more about interviewing optimism on their governance strategy versus sort of talking about retro PGF and funding. They're unrelated. Okay. And then just to wrap up, I really only have these post-migration tasks. Everything is done except for 3 low priority and 1 medium priority. And the 1 medium priority is maybe done soon. I know there's still conversations between SEM and you, Bear, on that. I guess I can put in doing the sprints stuff. I totally forgot about the retro yesterday, which is why I joined late, but it is something that I think I said I would also pick up, but Bear, you so graciously picked up when I didn't show up. Thank you for doing that. But I can also add sort of the sprint tasks to my plate as well. All right, so that's this next 2-week sprint. I think there's still a lot of things sort of up in flux. I think flux is the right word. But this is good. I feel like we're back in a rhythm. Thanks everyone for staying until the end.
Thank you, Tam.
Okay, talk to everyone soon.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
See y'all.